little baguettes, welcome to l'Académie Équilibre, and today we're doing a grammar topic that is position des adjectifs. So let's begin. Alright, so we're going to start from the very basics, that is what is adjective. Right, now what does it mean? Adjective is basically any word that describes a noun or an object, right? For example, if you have this sentence, a beautiful city. Okay, so here what are we describing? We're describing the word city. Okay, and beautiful is the word that is describing it. Okay, so here city will be your noun and beautiful is your adjective. Right, so basically things like color, nationality, form, shape, these are the words that give you a quality of whatever object you're talking about, be it a person, be it a thing, or be it a place. Right, so if we take more examples, here we have red that is describing a car. We have French that is describing the student. Now this is pretty basic stuff, but here what are we talking about specifically? It is the position of the adjectives, that is, where does the adjective go? You'll notice every single time it is before the noun. Maybe we didn't notice it before, but we all know it, right? Now the question is, the main thing we're going to be studying is where does it go in French? So in French, it is generally the opposite. That is, here it is going before the noun, right? In French, it goes after the noun. For example, when we talk about things like nationality, shape, color, we'll get sentences like, in the first one, you'll notice we're describing a student, okay? We're giving a quality in terms of their nationality, that is, she is Indian. So here your adjective is on the end. And étudiant, that is nothing but your noun. Same way here, rouge is a color, right? And we're describing the color of the car, voiture. And in the last one, same thing, that is carré, square. What is square? The bag. We're describing the bag. In all three of them, where does the adjective go? It is going after the noun. Now here you'll notice I wrote generally, not always. That is, there are some cases in which the adjective can also come before the noun. Now which are those adjectives? So there's a bunch of them. How do we remember them? There's this thing called bangs. Now this doesn't have anything to do with the haircut. Okay, bangs is an acronym. Okay, that is each letter stands for something. So B is for beauty, A is for age, N is for your number, G is for your goodness, and S finally, that is for your size. Alright, so if we have any adjective that describes beauty of the noun, age of the noun, number of the noun, goodness of the noun, or even the size of the noun. For example, for beauty, you can say beau. That is beautiful, right? Jolie, pretty. Even laid, that is ugly. Then we have age, alright, as in young, old, new, right? Here we have words like jeune, or opposite, that is old, vieux, or nouveau, that is again new. In terms of number, obviously that is our counting 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever. That is 1, 2, 3. Now these are your cardinal numbers, right? Then we also have rank, that is ordinal numbers. So here, like things like first, second, third, fourth, whatever, that also comes under your number. So première, deuxième, troisième, all of those are adjectives that come before a noun. And finally, dernière, that is last. Now in terms of goodness, that is about how good or how bad something or someone is, we have words like bon, or mauvais, or even gentil, or for example, méchant. Lastly, if we talk about size, that is big and small, so you'll have words like grand, that is big, or petit, which is your small. Or if we talk about things like gros, again large, huge, right? Or we talk about long, right? Court, that is your short, or étroit, that is your narrow. Now these adjectives, they are some of the most common ones that you have that come under bangs and go before your noun. Okay, there are more, but these are the most common ones. Alright, these all, they go before the noun. Okay, these are a small minority. Okay, your specific adjectives. Except these, all the adjectives, okay, they will go after your noun. Okay, be it your color, your nationality, your shape. Okay, generally, majority, they go after. That's why we say generally. That is in most cases. Now we'll just look at a few examples to make it crystal clear. Okay, in the first one, you'll notice we're describing a flower. Okay, and here we're describing a dress. Here we're describing dogs. Here, friends, and finally a tree. Okay, and we're using adjectives to describe them. So jolie is your pretty. Okay, that is again we're talking about the beauty of something. Okay, that means it is part of banks, therefore it will come before your noun. Same way, belle is beauty, then quatre is your number. Alright, then quelque, again quelque is talking about some. This is also related to number. Okay, so words like plusieurs, that is some, or again quelque, which is some, both are talking about your number. Okay, so these are also adjectives that are part of banks and therefore come before whatever you're describing. Finally, you have grand, again size, that is banks. Now obviously we've sorted the position thing of adjectives. Now we have the question of accordance. What is that? Whenever you're putting an adjective in a sentence, you need to look at two things. Okay, one is your position, right? We've already made that clear. It either goes before or after. Generally after. In some cases, that is banks, it goes before. Alright, then we have this thing called accordance. Accordance is nothing but changing your adjective according to the gender and the number of the noun that you're talking about. Okay, so we know that every single thing in French, that is any noun, it has a gender. Okay, be it a pen, be it a book, be it a phone, it'll have a gender, right? And obviously it'll have a number, that is it can either be singular, a pen, or plural, that is some pens. So according to that noun, whatever adjective you're using to describe it, that adjective will also have a gender and a number. What does that mean? For instance, if we're talking about nationality, alright? Now these are the people whose nationality I want to talk about. They're all noun, as in people, right? And now nationality is what? It is your adjective. So for example, I want to say Indian. Okay, so here it will be Indien. Right? Why? Because garçon is masculin singulier, a boy. Okay, so un garçon, indien. Now I want to say an Indian girl. Okay, that is une fille. Then fille is feminine singulier, so adjective also changes. Okay, that is your accordance. So it becomes indien. Then if I talk about homme, that is masculin pluriel. So des hommes indiens. Again, my adjective is changing based on the noun that I'm describing. Here also, this is feminine pluriel, so I get des femmes indiennes. So basically, what is the crux of it? Whenever I put an adjective in my sentence, I have to be careful of two things. One is the position. Right here, we're talking about nationality. Alright, it will come after whatever noun we're talking about. Garçon, fille, homme. You'll notice adjective is coming after it. Okay, second thing I need to be very careful about is accordance. Okay, that is modifying my adjective based on the noun that I'm describing. Here, indien, indienne, indien, indienne. And once I've done both of these two things, I get my actual final correct sentence. So basically, how do we accord adjectives? You look at the noun. Whatever gender and number the noun is, same thing will apply to the adjective. Okay, how do we generally do it? That is, if your noun is masculin singulier, it will be as it is. That is, for example, petit, small. Okay, part of banks, we're talking about size. Okay, it will be petit as it is. If we talk about feminine singular, generally you will add an e to make it feminine. For masculine pluriel, you will add s. For feminine pluriel, you will add es. That is e for feminine, s for pluriel, so you get petite. Now, there are some adjectives that are a little bit of an exception. Okay, so for words that end with en, il or on, for instance, you have bon. Okay, or any nationality for indien or even Canadien, or il, that is gentil. When you make it into feminine, you will write bon. That is, the n gets doubled. Same way here, the n will get doubled, so you get indien or Canadien. Here also L will get doubled, so you get gentil. Now for words ending with al in masculine singular, what will happen to them? So now in plural form, that is masculine pluriel, they will end with aux. Okay, be very careful. AL becomes AUX when it goes from singular to plural. So you get nationaux or signaux. Now here it ends with IL, but this also becomes travaux. So national, signal, and work. Another thing, if the adjective ends with O, for example, beau or nouveau, they are both part of banks first of all. Okay, and in femina they'll become belle or nouvelle. O goes to L, from masculine to feminine. So before we finish up the topic, we have a small note. Okay, that is a little rule, an exception you can say, that you need to know to make sure you don't make any mistakes in your answer. Okay, so basically, what is this note? We're talking about adjectives that go before the noun. So this rule applies to adjectives that go before the noun. That means all the bangs adjectives. So what it's basically saying is that if you have des in your sentence, right? For instance, elle porte des chaussures. Okay, so here you have article indéfini, that is some before your noun. Okay, and you're supposed to put an adjective that is part of bangs. Alright, so obviously it will go before chaussures, that is between the article indéfini and the noun. The des becomes de. Okay, that is what will happen to this sentence. Elle porte des nouvelles. Okay, I just did accordance, that is chaussures, shoes is feminine pluriel. So nouveau becomes nouvelle and chaussures. Another way of saying it is if the adjective is coming between the noun and the article, that is nouvelle is coming between these two. Okay, then the des will become de. This is your small but important rule. Now we'll just do a quick exercise to seal this topic. Okay. Now, when you attempt questions like this, you need to be careful about two things, as we already talked about. One is the position, that is before or after, and the other is changing the gender and the number of the adjective. Okay, so here in the bracket, you'll be given adjectives, okay, be it one, two, whatever, and you're supposed to decide where it goes. Okay, so here in the first sentence, for example, vous regardez un film. Okay, and two adjectives are given. Alright, first thing you'll do is that you'll decide what the noun is. Here we're talking about the film. Alright, so the film is long and boring. Now we're supposed to put both of them in the sentence. That is long, we're talking about the size. That is part of bangs. That means it will go before the noun. Okay, and for the second one, that is only you. Now this is not part of bangs. That means it will be put the normal way. What is the normal way in French? After the noun. Okay, so basically, what do we get as an answer? Vous regardez un long film ennuyeux. Okay. Second one, we're talking about maison. Now, grand will go before it because it's part of banks. We're talking about the size. Blanc is your color. Okay. It goes after the noun, general way. So you get, j'ai une grande maison blanche. Here you'll see I did an extra thing, that is, I changed grand into grande. Same way, blanc became blanche. Okay, because we're talking about the house. House is feminine singulier, that is une, right? So here you'll also change the gender of the adjective, that is, do the accordance if necessary. In the first sentence, accordance was not necessary. Why? Because the adjectives given to you were masculine and the noun, that is the film, that was also masculine. But anytime if your noun is feminine or pluriel, then you'll have to change your adjective accordingly to fit in. Okay, so we're doing three things. First, we're identifying the noun. Second, we're choosing the position before or after. And third, we're doing the accordance. So here we're talking about une femme. Alright, beau, that is again the beauty, so it will go before. Italien, nationality, it will go after. Now, femme is again feminine singulier. So beau becomes belle. Italien ends with en. It will become italienne. And my final sentence is, il parle avec une belle femme italienne. He's talking to a beautiful Italian woman. Okay, same way, fourth one, voilà des fleurs. Jolie, one single adjective. We're talking about the pretty flowers. Jolie, part of beauty, part of banks. That means it'll go before. Now, fleur is feminine pluriel. That means an extra E for being feminine, extra S for being pluriel. Therefore, you get And there's an adjective between the noun and the article. That means des will become de. Okay, this is super important. Last one, nous avons lu livres. That is, we read books. Now, quelques, we're talking about number. Okay, so part of banks, it will go before livre. And intéressant, general adjective after livre, that is your noun. Therefore, we get this intéressant will add an extra s because livre is masculin pluriel. So answer is nous avons lu quelques livres intéressants. We read some interesting books. So I hope the entire topic, position des adjectifs, is clear to you. If you have any doubt, feel free to comment below. Thank you.